Hi everyone, it's Doogie again from UltimateWoWguide.com. Today I will show you a side-by-side comparison of dungeon leveling versus solo questing, which is the standard way of leveling today. This will be a recording of myself playing two different characters. One is an Alliance Paladin and the other one's a Horde Shaman. I have leveled both characters specifically for this video. They are both at level 20 and a half. I've used the dungeon leveling guide for the Paladin since level 1. So she has already done a couple of dungeons already before she has hit level 20, and she's already wearing about 4 different blue items. The Shaman was leveled purely from our standard leveling guide, and even at level 20 he haven't received a single blue item yet from questing at all. In fact, some of his green gear could use a good upgrade. I tried to get both characters to be at the same level as closely as possible. They both have very little rested experience bonus, and they both don't have any heirloom items either. This comparison is based on 1 hour of playing, but don't worry, I've compressed this video down to about 5 minutes. You will see a stopwatch on each screen, and you can also see the experience per hour gain on the top left corner. Without further ado, let's begin. When you queue for a dungeon as a tank, the queue time is normally about less than 2 minutes, but for a DPS class expect about 8 minutes wait. But there are ways to overcome this by queuing smartly. Try to check our guide in advance so you can queue about 5 minutes earlier before we instruct you. The Paladin had a rough start because we had this terrible warrior who was in our group for the first 15 minutes. He came in with 10 minutes resurrection sickness, and we couldn't even kick him out of the group for 15 minutes, so he was really slowing us down at the beginning. The Shaman on the right, however, is off to a good start. Dungeon leveling are extremely fun, but it does take a bit of diplomacy to make sure your group are heading the right direction. And also, if you're lucky, you'll get some very experienced player in your group. The last dungeon that I did, which was Wailing Cavern, I had 2 people wearing heirloom items, so that made the run really fast and really easy. But today I'm not that lucky. I don't think anyone in my group is wearing heirloom items. All we have is this terrible protection warrior that's not really doing anything much, but we will try and kick him out as soon as we can. The Shaman on the right appears to be going extremely well because he's already turned in a couple of quests, so his experience gain per hour is about 20,000, while the Paladin experience gain per hour just from grinding in the dungeon is only about 10,000. This will all change as soon as he turns in his first quest, which is inside the dungeon. You can see right now with the experience per hour meter that the Paladin is only earning about 10,000 experience per hour, while the Shaman is earning over 20,000 experience per hour, so that's over double. But the Paladin is about to turn in a quest now, and his experience immediately boosted to about 17,000 experience per hour. So as you can see, the quest really made a big difference. I think this really proves that just queuing random dungeons one after the other just for leveling without any quests is really inefficient, because you can level up twice as fast by solo questing. If you're new to World of Warcraft and also new to dungeons, I have to warn you that tanking is probably the toughest role that you can do in the game. But if you're willing to learn and practice, then it's also the most fun role in the game. And the best time to learn is at early level. As a tank, you are responsible for making sure that all the mobs, all the monsters are targeting you and not any of your teammates, no matter how many there are. You need to familiarize yourself with high threat abilities, such as taunting. As a healer, it's pretty simple. Just keep everyone alive and make sure you dispel anything that you can dispel. And as a damage dealer, you need to be able to kill things as fast as you can. The damage dealer actually controls the pace of the run quite a lot as well, because if you're not dealing enough damage or killing stuff quickly enough, then the run is going to go extremely slow. Most damage dealers are also responsible for crowd control, such as a mage can polymorph, or a rogue you should sap NPC before the pull. And Warlock can also fear or banish a demon. And as a hunter you can set your traps as well. You may have noticed earlier that I did die twice with the Shaman. Luckily the graveyard spawn wasn't that far away, so I was able to spawn almost immediately. I was trying to kill a level 22 elite rare monster and I thought I might be able to solo him, but I failed twice, so I gave up after the second time. Unfortunately I've wasted about 7 minutes, so that would have affected my experience gain per hour. I thought about redoing the entire video again without dying, but I guess dying is it's part of World of Warcraft. When you solo questing you will die. I mean, the paladin died as well in the dungeon, and also he had a bad group right at the beginning, so it kinda evens out. If you're curious about the bar that I use to show the experience gain per hour, it's called Titan Panel. It's very useful. You can find it on Curse or WoW interface. You can also see my experience bar on each character portrait, just below the mana bar. You can see that the Shaman is slightly ahead of the Paladin. The Shaman have about 3 or 4 quests to turn in, so things are not looking good for the Paladin. But now the Paladin have extremely good gear for his level. He even has a gear in his backpack that he can't even wear yet until level 23, so he's all set up for upgrades as well. And I actually found playing the Shaman quite difficult. I was killing NPC below my level, but it was still quite tough because I think he's a bit under-geared for his level. He is in desperate need of good upgrade, and I really don't want to buy gear from the auction house because they're all complete rip-offs. I will show you the gear comparison between the Paladin and the Shaman at the end of the video. Right now the Paladin has finished his dungeon quest and he's just flying back to turn in his quest, and you can see his experience per hour gain is boosted all the way up to over 20,000. The Paladin did need about an extra 5 minutes of traveling time, longer than the Shaman, but the Shaman was also at a point where he needed to do a bit of traveling to get to the next step. So I decided to stop him right there because he wouldn't have gained any more experience. So as you can see from the screenshot, the Paladin is the clear winner. He has gained about 90% for this level, while the Shaman's only gained about 63%. The bulk of the experience for the Paladin came at the end when she turned in all the quests once the dungeon is finished. I know a lot of people think that queuing random dungeon is an easy way to level, but from my test it shows that just dungeon grinding on its own is the slowest way of leveling, and my Paladin was actually a bit too low level for the dungeon that she ran. Most of the monsters were actually about 2 or 3 levels above her, so they were either yellow or orange. So she should have been getting probably the maximum amount of experience that she can from dungeon grinding without the help of any high level players. So if anyone ever tell you that grinding is faster than questing, that's absolute rubbish. Solo questing, surprisingly, is still very good. It's very friendly to new players who are just getting into the game. Dungeon questing is the clear winner. With questing, the experience was increased by 160% than doing dungeon on its own without any quests at all. There's one more thing I'd like to show you, which is the gear comparison between the dungeon leveler and the solo leveler. The Paladin on the left is the dungeon leveler. Just check out her gear. She's absolutely decked with the best gear for her level. She has about 6 blue items. If I were to use her for PvP or solo leveling, she will easily dominate. The poor Shaman on the right still haven't received any blue items yet from questing, but he's still able to solo quest without much problem. Dungeon leveling will require more gameplay experience. It really doesn't take long at all for you to learn, and the best time to learn is at lower levels. Because if you hit level 80 without playing any dungeons at all, it's going to be very confusing and difficult for you to get into. So the secret obviously is our new dungeon leveling guide. There's a lot of evidence for you to know now that you need this guide. I don't have any doubts at all that this guide is going to increase your leveling by at least 100%. There's no other guides out there that has as much feature as our guide. Make sure you subscribe to our newsletter for our specials announcement, and download our level 1 to 40 guide so you can test it right now. Alright, this is Doogie, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.